Most of us are still processing things from 2020. But 2022 is only 4 months away. And then COVID is releasing new versions every month. As if an entire year and a half of hiding from the virus wasn't enough, we are required to face furthermore waves of the pandemic. Some of us have packed their bags and out on trips already to make up for the last time. Looking at the crowds at tourist spots, one could assume that they got the definition of herd immunity wrong. The question is, why are the people traveling while the pandemic isn't over yet? What motivates them to take this risk? In this video, I share perspectives to explain the psychology of what is now called revenge traveling. My name is Praveen and I really appreciate your time today. In psychology, there is something called hierarchy of needs, which could be used to investigate people's motivations to do certain things. As per that, we start at the base, focusing on the basic things which are required for our survival. Things like food, water, shelter, clothing are all basic things which we require to survive. Once we have them, we will need a job, good health, security, which could all be classified as safety needs. And then we would start focusing on building relationships. We will start looking for family, friends, colleagues, and other companions. After that, we will look at establishing our position among our people by going after respect, status, and recognition. And then finally, when we feel we have achieved everything, we start asking questions like our purpose of life, which would take us on a spiritual path. This model could be used to investigate the motivation for travel. Imagine living in olden days when there were no jobs. You would need to move from one place to another to get food and shelter. If you see the people traveling in buses, metros and auto rickshaws today to travel to work, they are all doing this for a more basic need of employment. Take the case of Rajinikanth. He travels to the Himalayas every year to spend time building Himalayas' spiritual journey. So you could appreciate the various levels of travel. When you look at leisure travel, it could be somewhere midway in this hierarchy. One could be going on a trip with family and friends to build intimacy and connection while having a good time. And then there are travelers from Instagram who do this only for building their status and esteem. These are immediately obvious modern day motivations and they could change over time. The fundamental motivations for travel, on the other hand, are deeply rooted in the implications they had for our ancestors and have been a great part of evolution. Our ancestors' lives were very simple. All they needed to do was to survive and procreate. Everything they did was tied to these two purposes. Going by this, there could be 5 different fundamental motives for travel. Firstly, evading harm. Our ancestors moved places whenever they felt there was a risk to their survival. Even today, this happens in different forms. We choose to escape from our routine life to set out on exploration, and the underlying causes include the ones that psychologically harm us, like depression and anxiety. Secondly, exploration. Our ancestors who lived as hunter-gatherers ventured into new unknown territories to seek new food and mating partners. This novelty seeking is still one of the fundamental reasons why people travel to new destinations every vacation. Thirdly, affiliation. We have always lived in groups in order to increase the probability of survival through resource sharing and by sheer numbers. Today, we use tourism to foster our relationships, make new acquaintances, or experience a sense of community. Fourthly, status. Our ancestors who were able to identify new locations for food and other resources always enjoyed higher status in the community as alphas. Today, we see the same motive in a new dimension through social media. Travel and holidays have become increasingly important as a status symbol. Lastly, mating. The 4 former survival relevant motives are meaningless if individuals did not find someone willing to transport their genes into the next generation. The romantic trips to Paris, honeymoon packages are all examples of how travel is used for this motive. This is also the reason for development of sex tourism and destinations like Thailand. All this explain the general motivations to travel. But what about traveling during a pandemic? Dying from a contagious disease constituted a major threat for our ancestors. Consequently, a disease avoidance motive evolved. In addition to the physiological immunity which is developed by our body, we also develop immunity through our actions. When we see someone coughing, we would immediately move from them to avoid infection. This is behavioral immunity. As a result, we are developing certain behaviors that are building immunity for us even while we travel. First one is avoiding crowds. While we are social and extroverted, if we perceive the risk of getting infected is higher, we will start avoiding people and would rather stay alone. As a result, people are now looking for offbeat locations for travel compared to popular destinations to avoid crowd. Secondly, we have something called xenophobia, which is the fear of anything that is foreign to us. In ancestral environments, avoiding contact with outgroup members served several functions. Specifically, xenophobia serves the function of disease avoidance. Outgroup members could have carried diseases the in-group had not built immunity against. This is evident in the way people are now looking to avoid foreign locations. Lastly, our behavioral immunity might also result in discrimination and prejudice. We might see people from some race or geographies as potential high risk and avoid them totally. This explains why most countries have their borders shut and even tourists are preferring to travel only domestically. To summarize, the motive to travel is deeply ingrained in us. The immunity that is required to avoid diseases during our travel is also inherent in us. As a result, while travel by itself couldn't be avoided totally, we need to make efforts to bring out the coded behaviors in us that will ensure the safety against COVID. Did you like the perspective shared here? Let me know in the comments.